He's not trying to be free. And that's exactly why he is. Most people spend their lives chasing freedom like it's something waiting at the end of a long road. A better job. More money. More control. They tell themselves, once I get there, I'll finally be free. But he never did that. He never planned it. He never optimized for it. He never even defined it. And somehow, he became the freest person in the entire world. That's what makes One Piece quietly unsettling. Because it suggests something most people don't want to admit: maybe freedom isn't something you achieve. Maybe it's something you stop negotiating. At the surface, One Piece is a story about pirates chasing treasure, specifically the legendary One Piece, left behind by the Pirate King. At the center of it all is Monkey D. Luffy, a boy who sets out to become the next Pirate King. But here's the detail most people overlook: Luffy doesn't want to be Pirate King for power. He doesn't want status. He doesn't want control over others. He says it plainly. To him, the Pirate King is simply the freest person on the sea. And that sounds simple, until you realize how radically different that is from how most people define freedom. Because this story isn't really about adventure. It's about what happens when someone refuses to live by rules that everyone else quietly accepts. Early in the story, Luffy bursts out of a barrel onto a pirate ship. What literally happens? He emerges out of nowhere, smiling, completely unbothered by the chaos around him. What it appears to mean: a quirky, comedic introduction. A carefree protagonist entering the world. What it actually communicates psychologically: this is a person who does not wait for the right time to begin his life. There's no preparation montage, no moment of doubt, no internal negotiation. He simply starts. And that's deeply uncomfortable, because most people don't. They wait for approval, for stability, for certainty. Luffy doesn't. He acts as if his life already belongs to him. Most people aren't trapped by circumstances. They're trapped by hesitation disguised as responsibility. You may have felt this before, that quiet sense that your life hasn't really started yet. Not because you lack opportunity, but because you're still asking for permission. When Luffy confronts Arlong to save Nami, he walks into a fight he doesn't fully understand, for someone whose pain he hasn't completely heard yet. On the surface, it looks like a hero saving a friend, loyalty and courage. But psychologically, Luffy doesn't calculate whether someone is worth saving. He doesn't weigh outcomes or hedge emotional risk. He commits completely. And that's rare. Because most people are careful with their attachment. They hold back, protect themselves, avoid caring too deeply, because caring makes you vulnerable. But Luffy's version of freedom includes the freedom to care without restraint, which also means the freedom to suffer. A lot of what we call freedom is actually avoidance, avoiding heartbreak, rejection, emotional exposure. But that kind of safety limits how deeply you can live. When Luffy orders the burning of the world government flag at Enies lobby, he openly declares war on the most powerful institution in the world to save Robin. On the surface, it's a dramatic act of rebellion, loyalty taken to its extreme. But psychologically, this is the moment where Luffy chooses his values over the structure of the world itself. Not strategically, not symbolically, completely. He doesn't negotiate with authority or internalize it. He simply rejects it when it conflicts with what he believes is right. And most importantly, he doesn't need the world to agree with him. Most people don't realize how much of their identity is shaped by systems they never chose. Family expectations, social norms, cultural definitions of success. They don't question them, they adapt to them. Because challenging them feels dangerous. At Sabaody Archipelago, everything falls apart. Luffy and his crew are completely overwhelmed, separated, powerless. On the surface, it looks like a defeat, a reminder that they're not strong enough yet. But psychologically, this is where Luffy's version of freedom meets its limitation. Because freedom doesn't protect you from loss. It doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't make you invincible. For the first time, Luffy experiences something he cannot overcome through will alone, and it breaks him. There's a painful truth here: being true to yourself does not guarantee things will work out. You can make the right choices and still lose. That's the part of freedom people don't talk about. It comes without safety nets. Much later, when Luffy awakens his true power, his fighting style becomes unpredictable, almost absurd. Bending reality itself. On the surface, it's a power-up, a visual spectacle. But psychologically, this is the ultimate expression of Luffy's identity. He doesn't become more controlled. He becomes more himself, playful, unrestricted, unbound by expectation, even in how he fights. This isn't just strength. It's the embodiment of a person who no longer adapts to the world, but reshapes it through who they are. Most people think growth means becoming more acceptable, more polished, more predictable. But Luffy's evolution suggests something different. True growth might actually look like becoming harder to categorize. What One Piece understands, in a way most stories don't, is that freedom is not external. It's not the absence of obstacles or independence from others. It's internal alignment. Luffy doesn't feel free because his world is open. He feels free because there's no gap between what he wants and how he lives. Most people have that gap. They know what they want, but they delay it, dilute it, negotiate it, until it becomes something else entirely. Luffy doesn't. And that's why he feels almost unrealistic. Not because his world is fictional, but because his consistency is. If this story feels powerful, it's not because of the pirates or the battles. It's because it quietly reflects something uncomfortable about real life. Most people are not lacking freedom, they're selectively surrendering it. Every time they stay in something that doesn't feel right, avoid a decision they already know the answer to, or choose acceptance over honesty. It's not forced. It's negotiated. And the difficult part is admitting that. Because it means freedom was never as far away as it felt. It was just expensive. Luffy pays that price without hesitation. That's what makes him different, and that's what makes him hard to imitate. He doesn't chase freedom. He doesn't define it. He doesn't even question it. He just lives as if his life already belongs to him. And maybe that's the quiet truth this story leaves you with: freedom isn't something waiting at the end of your journey. It's something you either practice or postpone, every day. Not in dramatic, world-changing decisions, but in small, honest ones, the ones you already know you're avoiding. If this idea of freedom feels unsettling,